What's up, bikers? I'm Robert, and this is the B1KER Bar Podcast live stream. Did I say that? I don't even remember if that's what I always say right now. I'm so flustered because those of you guys that are listening can't see this, but my camera angle is just annoying the shit out of me. And so that's what I'm dealing with today. So, anyways, episode 146, the Dirt Therapy Project. This guy's been on before, Jonathan, the founder of the Dirt Therapy Project. It is a nonprofit to get vets on bikes, and they do some rad stuff. He was featured on Burn Peak a while back, so that got him a lot of attention. And but I really think it was the roots, the grassroots of the B1KER Bar Podcast that got him to where he is. It's been a few years, so we'll get on and talk about what they're doing over there. Nonetheless, those of you guys that are listening, thank you very much. I really appreciate all you. It means a ton every time that every time I get on here and I see the comments and the likes and the subscribes and those things. They always get me stoked. So really appreciate that. Last week I was talking to you guys about writing a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and one of you did. At Real Bike Tyson went out and wrote me one, said digging the show, tracked your YouTube videos for a little while before finding your pod. And he said he'd be waiting for a shout out. So there you go, man. Really appreciate that. Any of you that are listening that are like, man, I really wish I could get Robert to shut the hell up about writing these reviews, then go over there and write a review. And then I won't be talking to you. So you will be like, yeah, that's right. He's not talking to me. You can just ignore it. If you guys want to do something else for me, that would be great, or something for free, or you just want to see some more content about what's going on. If you swing by the B1KER Facebook page or Instagram page and give that a follow over there, you get to see some more content. If you don't know, I actually have a POV channel as well. It's just called B1KER, and like trail POV kind of stuff and reviews and whatnot. Go over there, give it a tap over there, and hit the subscribe button as well. I have a new video coming out tomorrow morning, so that should be a fun one. Go check that out. Anyways, those of you on Patreon that have been supporting the podcast, I really appreciate it. It means a ton. I've been thinking lately that there's this like Stream Deck thing that you can push buttons and it changes like who has focus and who doesn't. And I thought that would be a really good like upgrade for the B1KER Bar Podcast. So that's where the Patreon money is going to be gone here soon enough. So if you want to come help out, it's as little as $1 a month or $5 a month, get a letter from me, get some cool stickers, get to see some extra content, but really just help support the channel. Keep me from selling out to the man. That's what I really want to do, because I really enjoy the people on Patreon supporting me and not like some corporate guy telling me what I need to say. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to do those things, man. So anyways, appreciate y'all. We're going to go ahead and get on the show, get started with the show here, bring Jonathan back on. How's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Dude, I'm living the dream, man.
Heck yeah.
I got a good buddy from the military that always says nightmares are dreams too, dude. It's like nothing like a military guy to just bring it right back down to somehow depressing.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of military guy, did I misspell my own name on this, or did you put that on there?
Oh, I did that.
Okay, because it asked me for my display name, and I typed it in, and I was like, and then I'm looking at it, it's like, there's a 50-50 chance I misspelled my own name, so
Yeah.
at least it was you, not me this time.
At this point, that's like there's zero way I can change that, because I do
right.
that whole background. That sucks.
I mean, this is a confusing name, and it's been misspelled, my whole life.
Those of you that are listening, his name's spelled correctly.
Yeah. If you're audio only, he did a great job. It's
everything is correct. Good. Everything is good. Hey, I was in the infantry, man. We didn't get tested on spelling.
Yeah, that's all right. All good. At least it wasn't me. Like I said, that was my main concern.
The worst part about that whole situation is I think it was when I was writing the show notes. I actually went back and was like making sure that I spelled it correctly. So that's the really sad part, is that I did hopefully I spelled it right on YouTube, where actually it doesn't even matter because I can just change that at any given moment. But the one that's stuck there forever for the whole world to see, guess what? That's the one I screwed it up.
That's all right. No hard feelings.
So I've been trying to make this concerted effort to make sure that I introduce people that I've talked to before at the beginning of the show, so that people kind of understand what's going on. Because sometimes I get on like Joe Rogan and those guys are like they're just talking because they've been on the show like 10 times,
Yep.
and I'm like, I don't know who this person is. Like, what's their deal? So can you give us the elevator pitch on what the Dirt Therapy Project is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, thanks for having me back. Dirt Therapy Project, you did a good job in the intro. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The mission is just to get vets on bikes into the great outdoors where people can discover their own path to healing, right? Like, I'm not a certified wizard. I can't make your head stuff go away, but I can help you get on a bike and get outside and pedal around, and hopefully that helps you feel a bit better. Started right here in the great state of Texas about 5 years ago. For a couple of years, our program, it was just tiny, right? Group rides consisted of me and one or two other people, and started to gain some traction. Fast forward 5 years, we're now operating in 12 states. We just opened 2 new chapters this year, and it just kind of seems to be this movement that's catching on. So we're just absolutely having a blast with it.
Right on, man. Like when you first started, like, did you think you'd be here in 5 years, or did you think you're going to be here in like 6 months or something?
To the state we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first started, this was never even on my radar. Like,
Yeah. You're just
when I
like, I
started,
just want to ride bikes, man.
yeah, I started the program and I had this. I sat down and was like, okay, I need to raise $10,000 that will allow me to buy 3 or 4 nice bikes, some helmets, some safety equipment that we can loan out. We can loan that stuff out to vets at no cost to get them exposed to the sport, because it's an expensive sport to get into, right? That barrier is pretty hard and high to get over. And I was facing that myself at the time I was in grad school, and I didn't have a bunch of money that I could shell out for a bike. And I didn't want that to stop people from having an opportunity to see if this was something that would be beneficial for them.
Hmm.
Uh, anyway, so started super small, and it just kind of has evolved over the last few years and grown way beyond my wildest imaginations. I never thought we'd be here, for sure.
Yeah. So, you still have a regular, like a full-time regular gig, right? This isn't the only deal, right?
Now I've got a full time gig. I work in corporate America,
Yeah.
USAA. If maybe you've got their insurance or you bank with
Yeah.
them, I do procurement for them, so a lot of contractual negotiations and all that exciting stuff.
Right on. What'd you do you were in the Marines, right?
I was in the Marine Corps. I was in 1142 as a utility engineer, so I worked on mobile power systems, turbo diesel generators. Basically, if you had power
Hmm.
where you were forward deployed, it was most likely from a generator. So I worked on those.
So you didn't want to do that kind of stuff when you got out. You were like, I'm in the insurance game now.
Yeah, I mean, it probably could have been a good gig. There's stuff that directly translated to. Some folks got out and did windmills with that, that skill set.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Um, but I just, I came from a family where education, they hadn't pursued like secondary or post-secondary education. And I married my wife, who comes from a very educated family.
Hmm.
And that kind of inspired me to try my hand at it, go to school. So I got back from Afghanistan, went to night school, got my associate's degree, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then got out, did my undergraduate degree, and eventually went back to grad school. So
Right on,
pretty
man.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I got it. So you use that GI Bill, man.
absolutely. Use the crap out of it.
Yeah, I used all of mine too, man. So it was probably like the one of the biggest decision making factors of why I went in the military. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, I came from a family that didn't have freaking shit, so paying for college was going to be out of my own pocket, and I didn't like the idea of taking out a bunch of loans.
Yeah.
Plus, getting out of high school, I was like, man, I want to go like drink beer and blow shit up. So
Yeah, just sign here. I got the perfect job for you. Just sign here, right?
I kid you not, man. I took the ASVAB and they tried to put me into military intelligence as a linguist because I like freaking not aced it, but I like scored high enough to get any job, right?
Sure.
And they're like trying to give me this MI job, and I was like, nah, man, I want to go in the infantry. And they're like, dude, you don't understand how good this job is. And I was like, you don't understand. I don't want to do that job. Like, I left MEPS and they called me like 2 days later. They're like, lo and behold, we found you an 11 Bravo job, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So, yeah. But
Yeah, I know in
yeah.
2000, 2009, 2000, yeah, it was 2009 I enlisted, and I enlisted out of the South Salt Lake recruiting station, and I think they had a 6 or 8 month waiting list for all the O3 jobs,
Mhm.
the infantry gigs. I'm not saying I like had this huge desire to do that, but it
Yeah.
wasn't really an option on the table, so I took what I could get.
Yeah. For me, it was like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to make like a career out of the military. So I didn't want to go in and like put some big long like commitment in,
Sure.
to like, cause all those like those really cool jobs like that, they wanted you to sign up for like 6 years or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I just want to go in and like drink some beer and party. And like, if I like it, I'll stay and then I'll think about re-enlisting. And then if I don't, I'm going to be a civilian, And so my, my, my squad leader said when I was getting out, he was giving like a little speech. You know how everybody does that?
Yeah.
And he's like, when Schumacher got here, I was determined I was going to make a soldier out of him. And today, he's still a civilian. So
There you
there you
go,
go.
man.
Yeah, I guess.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, but like we were talking before the show, those of you guys that obviously weren't there, and I was telling him that the whole time I was in, my hair was always longer than it was supposed to be, and then I got out, and holy shit, it's like a military haircut for the rest of my life. So they pulled one over on me after all.
Yeah. I went the
So
opposite, right? I always had
yeah,
my hair was always in regs while I was in, then I got out and I was like, "Just no more."
they don't give you guys a lot of breathing room in the Marines, though, man. You guys fuck up like a little bit, and it's like,
Every 7 days, fresh haircut. Show
yeah,
up Monday morning formation, you got a fresh haircut or it's gonna be bad.
yeah. I remember talking to one of my buddies that was in the infantry and the Marines, and after we got out, and I was like, "No, man, that's how that shit was in like training or whatever, or like if there was some freaking brass coming around that everybody had to like get their shit together for." But for the most part, they didn't act that way as much. There was stupid shit. I mean, it's military, right? But
Yeah.
but he was like what you were saying. It's like, no, man, we're like even like I don't know if it was that way still, but he had like regulations on like his civilian clothes as well.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
like your shorts
Absolutely.
can't be like higher than this, or like I don't remember what the fuck it was. It was like, what?
Yeah. Pants have to be serviceable, no holes in your pants. If you're wearing something with belt loops, you have to be wearing a belt. You
Yeah,
know, T-shirts can't be offensive. They can't be have holes or anything of
yeah,
disrepair. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
lifestyle, dude. Obviously the military is a different animal, and not saying that anybody's better than the other, but kind of being in the Marine Corps, it's just you are fully entrenched, right? Like that is your universe.
yeah,
Um, it's so it's a little strange to come out of for sure.
yeah. In the Army, I can speak for the infantry. I can't speak for everything. The infantry tended to have like a little bit more strict regulations than what I saw a lot of the other like enlisted people. But it definitely wasn't to the level of the Marines. So right on, man. How long were you in?
I did 4 years. I
Right on.
did one enlistment and got out. Kind of like you, I thought that I was going to be a lifer, so I joined up combat deployment, went to Sangin with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. It was an absolutely bloody deployment. 3-5 lost 25 guys in a period of 4 months. Came home from that deployment, and the entire battalion of 3-5, they were on like 90-day suicide watch. Nobody could take leave. And I checked back into my unit because I was kind of like an augment guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Miramar, augmented over to Pendleton, and then deployed, and then was support of 3-5. But I get back to my unit on Miramar, and these dudes had just been can't get on the air wing. And my senior enlisted calls me, and he's this master sergeant, and he kind of proceeds to tell me that I didn't do shit. I'm not shit. I'm not anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not a. And this is coming from a guy who had never deployed. he had no combat deployments, which in the Marine Corps, that's a skill, right? Like he
Right.
had to fight for that. So anyway,
Especially to be in as long as he was.
yeah. So, I was a little salty after that, a little butthurt, and decided, hey, if that's what my future is, if I'm going to stay in, and if in 20 years I'm going to be this crusty old dude who's sitting here just telling people that they're not anything, then I'll get out. I'll get out while I still love the Marine Corps. So
Yeah.
it was time to get out.
Yeah. Makes sense, man. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if my timing was just wrong, you know what I mean? I feel like if I went in when I was a little bit older, maybe it would have been a different thing,
Sure.
But but on the other end, as at like being a young kid, it's a lot easier to like just kind of take that shit. You know what I mean?
Did you go in right at 18 or 17?
Yeah, yeah. I actually at my 18th birthday was in basic training. My fucking dog
Oh,
tag that
dang.
day. Yeah.
Okay. Heck yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So so you got back and you decided to start riding bike. I was reading some posts that you had on Instagram. And
Yeah.
you like picked up some mountain bike that you used to have back in the day?
Yeah. So, deploy, this is 2010, 2011 timeframe. Get back from deployment. I bought a Land Cruiser and got into that scene for quite a while. And after I got out of the Marine Corps, we moved here to Texas, and I was in school. At the time I was in grad school. I was working this like super crazy high stress job. Had two little kids at the time. We've got four now. Had two little ones. Was in grad school, and so my stress meter was just like constantly pinging off the max level.
Yeah.
And just randomly, I jumped on Craigslist and I was looking at mountain bikes, and I found it was a 2004 Kona Dog Deluxe. I was like, hey, that's a sick ride.
Yeah.
Granted, this is 2015, so it was already 10 years old, but it
Yeah.
was just like the bike I had ridden in high school. I had a Stinky back in the day, so went and picked it up. I think it was $500. Started riding it after work before my evening classes, and just, dude, I was absolutely hooked. I fell
Yeah.
right back in love with the sport. And dude, like you go for a ride and you're riding that adrenaline high, and just the endorphins are pumping through. And I was like, man, this is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So,
There's
and then
there's parts of it that remind me of being in the military as well.
yeah,
Like the shitty part of climbing is like, there's some road march that you were doing and fucking, like everything sucks. But then when you get to the top, you're like, all right, it's fun time now, it's like,
yeah,
yeah. And then the camaraderie as well, like the way that you're um kind of doing that with your buddies or whatever. I always like, I mean, this is like where I kind of tie it in the military as well, is like when you do shit that sucks together, like it makes you like tighter friends, or like, if it's your partner or whatever, you know what I mean? Like if you get through something that's painful together, then it's like you're like right on, and so I think that's part of like the mountain biking thing, where it's like, dude, we made it through that like nasty climb, and it was 95 degrees today, and fist bumps and beers at the end. It's kind of like coming back home from deployment or something, like,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Well, the
yeah,
camaraderie you mentioned, that was, that's been a huge aspect of our program that I really never anticipated, or it didn't hit my radar for quite a while. So 2 years into the program, 2.5 years into the program, we started, with some of the funds that we had raised, we would do these like multi-day retreats. So from San Antonio, we can get to Bentonville in 10 hours, or we can get to Angel Fire in about 10 hours. And so, we would take these trips, and the program would sponsor, 15, 16 folks, cover lodging and food and shuttles, and we'd go to Angel Fire. And the community and the camaraderie, like obviously the riding was incredible. You can't have a bad day at a bike park. Well, I guess you can have a bad day at a bike
yeah,
park,
yeah,
but we were
yeah. You
having
could
a
have a
great
really
time.
bad day, but we're not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
Luckily, we had great times at the bike park, but then everybody comes back to the Airbnb. It's this group setting. People are talking, and people were really able to kind of let down their walls. And you
Mhm.
know what this like, being a veteran in a civilian space. you kind of have to check yourself. Like you have to be like, there's this like internal dialogue and filter that happens. Like, oh, I want to say this, but I have to say it like this.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
my first reaction would be like to do X, Y, and Z, but I really need to tone that down.
yeah,
But if you're just hanging out with a bunch of people who have been through similar experiences, you have the opportunity to just be genuine.
yeah,
You can say what you want. You can make the joke. You
yeah,
can, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Talk
yeah.
about
There's no,
similar experiences.
yeah. I noticed that, more when I'm around my military buddies too, like where I don't know how else to say it, but like with those guys, like you can say like the most effed up thing to them, and it's like everybody's just gonna laugh. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
doesn't like it's like almost a goal to see how bad you can get, and it's like
yeah.
you start getting in that part where you're just firing like that, and then you come home or you're like, oh man, I need to like figure out how to talk like a human again because
Yeah, like detox from that.
yeah, yeah, I gotta wind back down before I go into the office and tell somebody to go eat it. You know? Like,
But like,
so
oh, I'm going to
yeah,
HR again, so that
right.
was fun. Fun while it lasted.
Yeah, 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 totally. Yeah, that's rad, man. So are you guys still doing those trips like that or like what?
Yeah, yeah, those trips happen. So they've historically happened twice a year. In the spring, we'll do Bentonville. In the fall, we'll do Angel Fire. And it's always this big thing. We do like this big fundraising kick and cover all the expenses. And so this year we have a couple things planned. We've got some new things that are coming up that I'm super stoked for. So we are going to be at Sedona. The first time ever going to Sedona. They hooked us up with a booth, so we'll be out there. We'll have shirts and jerseys and stickers and all the cool things that obviously support the program. And we're taking like 10 or 12 folks out there from San Antonio, and a couple of folks from Arizona are coming down. And we're all just going to take turns running the booth. And if you're not running the booth, you'll be out riding. We've got group rides on the calendar every day. So if you're a vet and you're going to Sedona, check out our page if you want to come join one of our group rides.
Is that
So
open to
that's going to be
people
super
that
fun.
aren't vets and just want to support vets as well?
Yeah, always. Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
I know,
Absolutely.
was it last year or the year before we did a group ride like for vets with Spartan Rides. They're out of
Yeah.
Phoenix. And I think the way that it was like promoted that it's like a veteran ride, there was a bunch of people that didn't come because they were like, "Oh, I'm not a vet," and I was like, "Okay, mental note from here on forward, like if I'm part of something like this, let's make sure that like people know that you don't have to be a vet to come, you know?"
Yeah. No, that's an awesome call out. And we really focus on that, especially here in San Antonio. Our group rides are open to anybody in the community. Our local group rides, anybody in the community can come out. And so we'll have, on a regular Saturday, we'll go somewhere and there'll be 30 or 40 folks that show up, and 25 of those are vets and the rest are just folks that support the program.
Yeah.
Uh, we had the big event out at Spider Mountain for Veterans Day, and 300 folks showed up, and roughly
Right on.
150 of those were veterans. So I mean, come out and ride with us by all means.
So I was looking at your Instagram before the show, and is that where you did the golf ball thing?
Yeah,
So can you explain to me what was going on there and everybody else? So like all I saw was a bucket of golf balls, looked like it had a bunch of names on it, and
yep,
a helicopter. And so what was the
yeah,
deal there?
yeah. So we raffled off a bike. So with the help of Black Rifle Coffee, the BRCC Fund. So there's Black Rifle Coffee, and then the BRCC Fund is like their own 501. Anyway, they sent us some money to help us buy a transition PBJ, their dirt jumper,
Hmm.
and then helped us get that custom painted with a Cerakote paint job by a local gun shop here in San Antonio. So had this PBJ, it's got this custom woodland paint job on it, and we wanted to raffle it. And one of our local sponsors, uh, our biggest sponsor, is a company called Celicopter. It's
Hmm.
a helicopter broker, and so they're super cool. And so
Hmm.
I told them what they were doing. They're like, "Oh, hey, do you want to do a golf ball drop?" I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Well, everybody that buys a raffle entry, have them write their name on a golf ball, put all the golf balls in a bucket. At the end of the day, we'll take them up in a helicopter and dump them out, and then whoever lands closest to your target, that's the winner. And so I was like, yeah, abso-freaking-lutely. Like, yes, let's bring a helicopter out. Let's do that. So that's what that video is all about. We raffled off this bike, and then took him up in a helicopter, and it was my wife that was up there with that bucket, and she dumped it out, and we had one of our jerseys staked to the ground, and then kind of whoever landed closest to the skull in the middle of the jersey was the winner.
Right
So
on. How
it was
close did
fun.
they get?
Very close. It was
Yeah.
very close. Yeah.
Right on.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's super rad, man. That's like that I knew there had to be a pretty good story to it.
Yeah.
So
And those
was
folks,
it like
man,
a local guy that won it, or was there people that were signing up from afar, or?
yeah. So on that one, it was only local entries. We didn't want to
Mhm.
deal with shipping it. We wanted to be able to pick the winner that day and send it home with somebody.
Right.
So it was actually a girl named Brittany that won that bike and took it home that day, and she's been stoked with it. So
Right on, man.
been
That's
pretty
super
fun.
rad.
Yeah, but the folks at Celicopter, dude, they've been awesome. Last year for Memorial Day, we had a group ride at Flat Rock Ranch, which is kind of it's in Comfort, Texas. If you live
Mhm.
here, you've ridden here, that's what Flat Rock's all about. It's not flat.
Yeah.
um, so, but for Memorial Day, they came out, brought a helicopter out. They did some cool like aerial cinematography. They filmed our ride, put this neat video together, and then after our ride, when we were all just hanging out, they let everybody take turns going up in the helicopter and just flew them around the ranch and came back, and they'd switch them out for the next four, and
Right
it
on.
was rad. Yeah, it was rad.
Yeah. Yeah, that is super cool. I think that's, that's really rad. I mean, that's definitely not cheap for them to do that, fuel and stuff like that. So
No,
that's
it's not.
really cool.
Yeah,
I haven't been on a helicopter since I got out of the military, so
yeah, yeah.
did plenty
Neither
of
have I.
time. Yeah, yeah. Did you guys did you guys do a lot of stuff on helicopters, or?
Not just I was on a helicopter flying into Sangin and flying out of Sangin, and that was the
Yeah.
last time I was on one.
I was in a
uh,
QRF team when we were in Bosnia, and so like we did everything by helicopter. So it was just like we were on those things all the time.
yeah,
Good
very
stuff.
good. But anyway, so back to your question, we've got Sedona on the calendar for this year. And then in May, we'll be in Bentonville. We'll be spending 3 days riding in Bentonville. One day we'll do shuttles at Eureka Springs. And then the next couple of days we'll just kind of hang out. August, we will be in Breckenridge. So the same guy that owns the helicopter and flew us around also has a place in Breckenridge that he let us use last year. He like
Mhm.
donated the stay to the program. So anyway, got to ride Breckenridge and Winter Park, and we're going to do it again this year, and then we'll do Angel Fire again in the fall.
Right on, man. What are you looking forward to in Sedona?
Honestly, just being out there. I'm from Utah, and so I'm excited to go out and see the Red Rock again. I
Yeah.
just love being outside, seeing beautiful rock formations. I haven't dug a bunch into what rides are out there, just because I think I'll have to be at the booth, or I will get to be at the booth a lot of the time. So it's probably not going to be a big riding trip for me, but I'm just excited to get out there and meet a bunch of folks.
I would say if I was going to ride one ride while I was there,
Yeah.
I would do you can kind of do like Slim Shady and Highline all as a loop.
Okay.
That would probably be what I usually do. I could tell you about it when we get there.
Okay.
But it's usually like I kind of go down Slim Shady, and then actually I'll do it usually as a shuttle if you have two cars, but you go down Slim Shady, which is like it's like a two-direction trail, so it's fun both ways. But then you hit this other trail called Easy Breezy, and then you kind of loop back up to the top of Slim Shady. Think of Slim Shady like a teepee. Like it's like a climb to the middle is the high point, and then you can descend down the other side. And then if you're
Okay.
doing it out and back, you just climb back, and you know what I mean.
Sure.
So you get kind of back to the top of the teepee, and then you go do Highline, and if you're in great shape, you can ride back to the beginning of Slim Shady, or if you're like don't want to go through the pain cave to get back, then you can. There's a place that you can put a truck kind of close to the bottom of Highline and finish there. But I think out of all the trails that I've ridden in Sedona, I really like Highline the most because it has that hard technical climbing that'll keep you on your toes, and then the second half of it has, just one of the longer downhills that's in the area. Most of the stuff in Sedona is like, we always make this joke when we're there that you're climbing down. So it's like, it's not like what we're used to here in California where we get to the top and we like descend for 20 minutes, like it's like you descend for like 17 seconds and you're climbing again. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on again? So, but yeah, no, that would definitely be the one. I mean, it's, that's my personal opinion, but I also like the longer, like kind of chunky downhill. So that's the one though.
Yeah, that's my favorite riding. So
yeah.
on that note, though, on the note of Sedona, if anybody's listening and coming from the San Diego area to Sedona, driving, and are willing to pull an M101 CDN trailer for us, that would be absolutely awesome. So I found a trailer that I wanted to buy for the program. It's in San Diego. I've put a deposit on it. I just am unable to get out to San Diego for the foreseeable future just because of the amount of traveling I'm doing this year. So if you're headed our way, if you're headed to Sedona from San Diego and you can pull a trailer, please let me know. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be rad if we can make it happen. I don't know, maybe one of those guys there from War Within here, he's in the comments right now. They're in Phoenix. Maybe somebody wants to make a big road trip to San Diego and do some riding and come back.
Yeah, that's Henry, right? War Within. Yeah, so he's actually one of our ambassadors in the Arizona. So we have an Arizona chapter. Henry and a guy named Evan are our ambassadors out there.
Right on. Well, maybe I always give Henry a hard time about eating crayons because he was Marine too. So.
Yeah.
I'll send him a box of crayons. Maybe I'll drive to San Diego for it. So.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe two boxes.
That's just purple ones. That's it. The grape ones, I mean.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So right on, man. So the different chapters, whenever they're having a new chapter opened up, what do they do in the other chapters?
Yeah, so I mean, the other chapters basically replicate what we started doing here in San Antonio. They're hosting monthly group rides, or maybe some more frequent cadence, every other week or whatever. And then everybody, let me step back. So they host the group rides, and then for our larger events like Bentonville, Angel Fire, those are open to applications from everybody. So the first couple of years, it was a rather informal process. Like if we had ridden together and I knew that you weren't going to kill yourself at a downhill park and you expressed interest in going and we had room, like, yeah, cool, come with us. But now it's to the point where there's so many folks that want to go on these trips because, like I said, they're so fun, right? So now we have this application process built out. Just use it for the first time this year. So this Bentonville trip is the first official like nationwide application pool that we picked from, and we'll do the same thing this fall for Angel Fire. So just kind of stay tuned for that on our Instagram page.
How what's the process? Is there like, do you like kind of read people's stories, or is it like random, or?
Yeah, so there's a questionnaire that we built out. Talks about your riding experience, your physical fitness levels, if you have any like accommodations or health issues or things like that. And then we just kind of go through and pick the folks that haven't been before and seem like they've got the skill set and the like the physical ability and endurance to not be a liability on one of those trips. If you kind of get where I'm going with that.
Yeah. So all the Air Force guys are out then.
No, we've got some good Air Force guys.
Sorry,
Absolutely.
I had to throw that in there. I don't know. It was either
No,
the
those
Navy or
guys,
the Coast Guard. Somebody was getting it.
dude, they're in good shape, man. They get out and they're like, yeah, my knees are still fine, my back is still
Yeah,
fine.
right. They're doing
I
better
can
than me.
ride all day.
Yeah, I know. Right on. That's pretty cool, man. So then the other chapter is like, how are you going? So you said you're in 12 states now? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Right on, man. I know you guys opened up one out here in California, and I keep like going back and forth on volunteering on being your NorCal guy because unfortunately fortunately you guys have one here, but it's down in Southern California, and I every time I look on the site, I see people from the Northern California area trying to make connections, and it's like if you lived in Pennsylvania and all the rides are going on in Florida, it's just like it's just so
Yeah.
not close.
Well, I
But
mean, dude, if you want to, we'd love to have you, especially because our SoCal guy, Mike, he's deployed. So we
yeah,
currently don't have an active ride leader in California. So, I mean, the page is still out there. There's still the ability to organize rides. So
yeah.
if you or anybody listening wants to do that, let's get together and figure it
Yeah, I
out.
was thinking we'd just make another page that's like NorCal and then rebrand his to be Southern California. And then that way, at least people are in the right zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. But I just have to get to a point where I'm really like that. The only thing I'm concerned about is that I'm overcommitted. You know what I mean? With between like this channel and my other channel and work and and then trying to do my own stuff for fun. You know what I mean? Like I'm
For
like,
sure.
it is only one weekend a month though, and I feel like I should be able to make that happen. It's like one day. It's not even a whole weekend. So yeah, I'm talking myself into it. I'm feeling guilty right now.
No, don't feel guilty about it. It should be something that, you absolutely are excited about, and there's no pressure, no guilt. If you
Yeah,
don't have
no,
the
it's
time, that's okay.
yeah. That's the thing is like I want to be able to do more. You know what I mean? So it's like
Sure.
it yeah. I
Just
definitely
just
have the
sign here.
tendency.
Just sign
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have the tendency to overcommit on things, so it's like I'm trying to, like, rein that in the best that I can, be realistic
Yeah.
with myself. Because all of a sudden the lady will start looking at me and being like, you have plans for every day for, like, 3 weeks, and none of them are with me." You know, "No, but we're together every day. What are you talking about?" You know?
I get it, man. I mean, I get it, When I started this, I was in grad school and working. And now I work full time. We've got 4 little kids. I run this program, so I mean, I you are
Yeah.
absolutely preaching to the choir. I understand.
Yeah. The funny thing is as soon as you don't have too much going on, you feel like you're not doing anything. At least that's the way it is for me. So it's like I get depressed if I'm not overly busy, and then I'm stressed out if I'm overly busy.
Yeah. You can't sit still, and I think that's one of the things kinda driven into you by the military is, like, you have this, like, "What's next? What's
Yeah,
next? What's next? What school am I going to? What training am I going to? What deployment am I going on? What,
yeah,
promotion am I getting ready for? Where am I PCSing to?" You just kinda get in this, like, hyper
yeah.
I don't know, hyper whatever.
I'm following you. Some word
Yeah.
that we don't need to figure out. Somebody in the comments
Yeah,
can tell me what it is.
it's too big.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's like spelling Jonathan's name. It's just not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
it's tough.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you know all the states off the top of your head?
Yeah, I could probably run through them. So obviously, Texas, North Carolina was our first chapter. Those guys are doing awesome stuff out there. So Texas, North Carolina, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, New Mexico, Maryland, Pennsylvania.
California, that's 11.
Didn't I say California?
No, you didn't.
California. Okay.
So we need one more.
It's out there somewhere, dude.
That's
I
it.
know
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Sorry to the state that we forgot.
Yeah, I still love you.
Yeah. So what's the process for somebody? Did I ask this already? For somebody to make a new chapter?
No, you didn't ask that. Great question. So the process is send an email to ambassador@tdtp.org.
Mm-hmm.
That will go to Evan, who has stepped in to be our ambassador lead. He'll send you the one pager that kind of sets out the expectations of the program. This is what we expect. This is how we want you to act. This is a link to the waiver that everybody has to sign.
Mm-hmm.
There's some, you can spend this much money without getting any approval for snacks and ride goodies and all that stuff, and then we'll reimburse you for it. But so it's like formally informal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
And then basically what the commitment is just like lead a ride once a month.
Yep. So the commitments would be, or the ask would be, that you have a Facebook profile, because we'll need to add you as an admin or a moderator onto your group's page.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have you download the Signal app. I'm not sure if you use
No,
that,
I've
but
never heard of that.
it's a messaging app. And we'll just plug you right into the group chat with all the ride leaders, and
Oh, right
have
on.
all that witty banter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get one going. Oh, my buddy just said about getting one started here in NorCal. He's a retired sergeant major.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, right. I like talking shit to him because I couldn't do that when I was in. So, but yeah, that's rad, man. So there you go. If you're listening and you're a veteran and you want to, do you have to be a veteran to be a leader?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if you're listening, you're a veteran, you want to help out, then hit him up. It was ambassador@tdtp.org.
Yep.
Right on, man.
So that's a fair question.
What's that?
Just to clarify super quick, do you have to be a veteran? And the reason I say yes is twofold. One is because it, as we talked about earlier, there's just this basic level of understanding,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're speaking the same language as the folks that you're hanging out with. Two is we've tried it to have folks involved in the program. How do I want to say this?
I would imagine that they don't get the same level of respect from the other veterans.
No,
like maybe the
it's
people
not
that are like coming to ride or something like that, or
no, it's not that at all. It's just we've had a couple times where folks who aren't veterans get put in situations with veterans that they are uncomfortable with, and they don't know how to handle, right? Like, they don't speak the same language, they don't have the same experience, they don't get the culture, and so it just becomes a little bit awkward for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's why I say yes.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And I mean, it is what it is. So I feel like it makes sense to me. I'm sure at some point or another, you just have to identify as a veteran, and then you'll be able to be.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go there, but it just came out.
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah, we're not going there. That wasn't even funny. Nobody laughed. So, what's Angel Fire like? What do you do over there?
So, have you ridden Angel Fire?
No, I haven't been there yet. And so you said that was in the fall, and I have like a bunch of stuff I'm doing in the spring. So as much as I'd love to go to Bentonville, but the fall is a possibility. So I was wondering what you got going on over there.
Yeah, so let's connect, and if you want to come out, we'll get you a seat on that trip. So the way the Angel Fire's trip works, or they have worked in the past, is we'll show up in Angel Fire, and the first day, how did we do this last year? The first day is typically a big, like an all mountain ride. So they have the South Boundary Trail in Angel Fire, or Angel Fire to Taos. It's an IMBA epic. But it's this like 20-mile backcountry, all mountain, absolutely beautiful. It's like It's incredible, especially for those of us who are coming from Texas, where it's like Texas is cool, but it's not beautiful for the most
Yeah.
part. And to be up in the mountains and in Taos and riding through the pines and then through the Quakey groves and just it's excellent. And it's a full day. It takes a full day.
Hmm.
So we'll do that day one, and then days 2 and 3 are generally spent at the park. We'll go ride park for a couple days. Angel Fire is super rowdy. It's a fun place. It's pretty
Yeah.
special. I really enjoy it. And this year, I think what we're planning on doing on day one is a trail called the Lost Lake Trail. It's again another all mountain, super beautiful, rowdy trail. So to get to the Lost Lake, it's like this 7 mile climb basically. So you're
Hmm.
going straight up for 7 miles. Once you crest, you're at this high alpine lake in this like little crater of this mountain. It's one of the
Hmm.
prettiest things I've ever seen, and it's been 2 or 3 years since we've ridden that trail, and I think I've thought about it almost every day.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so super beautiful. Jump in the water, swim around, have lunch, and then ride back down. And the ride down's obviously fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah,
You guys should do something out here in Northern California sometime. And we had some pretty epic rides out this way too. So
yeah, I'd love to.
yeah, you could set something up in Downeyville. That would be pretty rad. Or like you ever watch like BKXC's channel
Yeah,
where his property is really a good location. So they have like three different like pretty epic downhill days that are all like within, let's just say 45 minutes of his place.
oh, seriously?
Yeah, like one of them, like you could do shuttle laps. It's like 10 minutes down the road from where he's at. And
Dang.
that's actually like one of my favorite downhill places. And then Downeyville, I'm sure you've heard of Downeyville, people talking about that. That's like a, let's just say 14-mile downhill. That's just,
Yeah.
can't ask for much more. And then there's another place that's real close called Mount Huff. That's more of a, like a flow kind of downhill. So it's like not
Okay.
technical at all. It's just like, see how smoked you can make your brakes,
Yeah.
like kind of like that. So yeah, and they're all like right there. So that would be a really, really fun couple of days. I'm sure you could figure something out as far as the lodging and stuff like that goes. So
Yeah.
yeah, right on. What are you looking forward to this year? You got anything that you can talk to other than Sedona that you were talking about, or the other stuff's kind of
Um,
on the under right now?
no, I mean everything's is pretty much out there. So Sedona is going to be super fun. One of the things I feel lucky enough to be able to do this year is I'm going to travel to several of our chapters. I'm going out to North Carolina in the fall, and I'll do a group ride with them. I've never met our ambassador in North Carolina. Our
Mhm.
interaction has purely been over telephone or social media.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to meet him and ride with the folks out there. Going to do the same thing in Utah this summer. So, I mean that stuff's super fun. Um, I guess that's kind of it. Sedona and the rest of the trips. I think those are the big things we're looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah. How do you guys get funding? What do you do for funding?
Yeah, so like I said, Helicopters are one of our biggest local donors, and as they're a helicopter broker, so they sell helicopters, right? And then
Mhm.
they donate a small portion of the closing costs to the program.
Oh,
So
wow.
if they sell like 2 or 3 helicopters a month, we send them an invoice for X number of dollars, and they do a small portion of closing costs.
Mhm.
Jerseys and apparel are obviously huge for us. I'm not sure if you saw this. We did a shirt with Softly. I was pretty stoked about that. I feel like
Yeah,
Softly's
that one
kind of
looks
like,
rad, man. I like it.
yeah, I feel like Softly's kind of like the Nike of the veteran community.
Uh-huh.
Um, the guy that did this, his name is John Dasta. He runs a page called Rodeo MTB.
Mhm.
Um, he's done tons of artwork for us, and we had just actually brought him on as our creative director. So
Mhm.
he's taken this, a more active role in the program, and he'll be at Sedona with us. So anyway, and we just did a raffle, which was super huge. Cadence Cyclery up in Dallas Fort Worth worked really closely with the folks at Pivot and Fox. And so they got a pivot switchblade frame donated. Fox donated all the suspension, and then the shop is taking care of the drivetrain. And we're getting ready to pick the winner for that next week. We sold 500 raffle tickets for that bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
And, because of that, we were incredibly blessed. And, that happened right at the beginning of this year and has paid for. So Bentonville is paid for, Sedona's paid for, Angel Fire is paid for. So for the first time since our program has existed, like the year, those big trips are already paid for. It's usually like this crazy scramble, like, oh man, I've got to go print a run of jerseys, and we've got to sell those, and we've got to try to figure out where to scratch up another $600 or $700. But this year we were super lucky with that.
That's so rad, man. So you guys, do you have like merch on your website as well that people can just buy at any time, or is it just whenever you guys do certain runs or something like that?
No, yeah, it's always on the website. I haven't been super awesome with keeping up our web store. The shipping got a little bit overwhelming for me for a little while. But I do have some stuff on the website. And then rodeomtb.com has a dirt therapy project collection. And there's several pretty awesome options there. And then if you're coming out to Sedona, we are bringing 5 brand new designs. So I think we're bringing like 500 or 600 jerseys out there. So come grab one.
Right on, man. Yeah. That should be good. I think you guys will have a good you should have a good turnout then,
I hope so. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah. So the festival itself donated the spot for you guys?
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been surprised like how like willing to give different like companies and stuff are compared to like when you started, and what you like? Did you think it was going to be more of a uphill battle, or?
Yeah. So interesting question. And I kind of have this conversation semi-regularly with my wife. Like when I started this program, every single cent was an absolute battle to get donated.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I remember like watching our account and be like, okay, because I got on our giving platform at work, and some people would donate every pay period. It was 15 or 20 bucks or whatever. And I'd watch and I'd be like, okay, in 6 pay periods, we'll have enough money to get a bike rack.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 15 pay periods, we'll be able to get a bike for the program.
Mm-hmm.
And then to fast forward where we are now, where we just had that raffle, like we made more money on that raffle in a couple weeks than we made in our first almost 2 years of existing, which is great. But obviously, the bigger the program grows, the bigger the expenses grow, right? Like nobody's rolling in dough over here. I'll just volunteer staff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, it's been tough. It's been hard, but we're certainly gaining some traction. And it seems like the bigger the program gets and the more notoriety is out there, the more willing people are to give.
Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned that video, the Burn Peak video, where Seth built up that bike and donated to the program.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, once that video went live on his YouTube, I kid you not, I had, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 emails a day coming in for months about the program.
Yeah.
Some people were just asking questions. Some people were donating. And then same thing happened on Veterans Day. CBS Morning did a piece that aired nationally, and it was the same thing. So I guess just the more legit the program seems, and people are like, oh, they're doing what they say they're doing.
Yeah.
They're getting vets outside. The money's going into the program, and they're doing all these cool things. And that makes sense. We'll donate to that.
Yeah.
So it was a battle, but it was well worth it for sure to get to where we are now.
What do you think was the tipping point of like kind of getting you to that point where it was like past word of mouth in Austin? You're in Austin, right?
We're in San Antonio.
San Antonio, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think like made the difference?
That's a good question. So from my perspective, behind the scenes, and I'm sure you're very well familiar with this. Like, people don't understand the amount of work behind the scenes that goes into something like this. I
Mhm.
don't know the amount of work that you put in behind the scenes to run a podcast. Like,
Right.
for me, I jump on here, we talk for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and then I go about my day. But like, the amount of work you put into setup, get your equipment, test it
Yeah.
out, all this stuff that goes into it. So for me, I know kind of where I think those tipping points were, but then I've had some conversations externally where people are like, "Whoa, you guys absolutely exploded." And I think one of the biggest external tipping point for us was last year at that Memorial Day ride when like we had a helicopter show up, hang
Mhm.
out. Helicopter presented a check. You know, it was a $10,000 check that they gave to the program,
Yeah.
and then all these people got to go on a free helicopter ride. I think they're like, "Oh, like okay, this is legit. This is actually a thing."
Yeah.
So that from an outside perspective, that seems to be the big tipping point, and it all kind of comes back to that.
Yeah. How's it make you feel?
Uh, Boy, lots of ways. I'm certainly humbled by it. I'm sometimes I feel grateful just to be along for the ride. You know,
Mhm.
there were years where it was a grind, and it got to the point where it was like, oh, the program's just exploding, and I'm it's just taking me with it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going along for the ride. So uh, humbled, grateful, appreciative. You know, the program wouldn't exist if it weren't for the generosity of folks out in the world, right? People that
Mhm.
believe in what we're doing, want to support military folks, want to help them kind of battle their own demons and contribute to the program. So I feel lots of ways about it.
Yeah. Do you have any particular like veterans experience that you saw happen that like really sticks out in your memory, like through the rides and trips and things that you've done?
Yeah. So there've been a couple really cool things. Um, and I know it's kind of a maybe not taboo, but you know, you read all the time that in the military community, there's this big number, 22 folks a day, right? So
Right.
they say that on average, 22 veterans are committing suicide on a daily basis. Well, in the 5 years that our program has existed, we're very grateful and very blessed and very appreciative. Nobody that's come into the program has taken that route. Like, we haven't lost anybody to suicide. So I'm very grateful for that. The other really cool thing that I saw happen has just been like personal development and personal growth. Like, there's one guy, Simon. You might actually enjoy talking to him. He runs a podcast as well. Simon's super cool dude. You know, I kind of met him as he was starting his mountain biking journey. He had retired out of the Air Force um, on a whim, bought a hardtail, started riding, took him to Bentonville with us, and just the way it's just positively impacted his life has been really fun to see. To the point where we kind of helped him get his GI Bill activated, and he used a part of that GI Bill to go to UBI up in Oregon to become a certified bike mechanic.
Oh, right
So
on.
like now he's like a certified mechanic, and so it's
Yeah.
super neat to see that happen. You know,
Yeah. My buddy I was talking about earlier, I think that's where he went. He went up there and did some schooling too to
awesome.
be a mechanic, like the post retirement job.
Yeah, he's got to go turn wrenches. You know.
Yeah, right. Something to keep you busy, right?
Yeah,
So you said it's a 503c 501c. What was it?
501(c)(3).
So one of the questions that's on here is why didn't you go the route of the 503c19? Do you know what that is? Me
No
neither.
idea.
Oh, maybe it
I probably
must.
didn't go that route because I didn't know what that
Yeah.
is.
Right. That's a great reason. So
503C19.
Yeah, I don't know. I
I'll
think
have
it
to look
has
it up.
something to do with probably, I don't know what the hell. I'm gonna say something that's probably completely wrong, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it there. So how did the oh, he said 501. He must have typoed it wrong. See, that's what happens when you become a sergeant major. Can't do anything. He said it's a veteran nonprofit, so I don't know. Nonetheless, how did the CBS morning show thing come about? What happened there?
Yeah. Well, short answer, I don't know. I was at I was at work one day and I got an email. So I checked my email and it was just like this really vague, "Hey, this is so and so with CBS Morning. I'd like to talk about your program and potentially film a piece for our Veterans Day segment." No signature block, no contact information, nothing. And I was
Right.
like,
And
spam, right?
yeah, right. And it came from something at gmail.com, right? Yeah.
Yeah, some like undisclosed, sender.
Yeah.
And the amount of spam I get, I was like, this is spam. And so I took a screenshot of it and just like as a joking manner, I sent it to our enduro team. And they're like, and one of the girls on there, Brittany, she's like, "No, we get those emails quite frequently. You should respond to it because that's how they always come through." And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." So I responded. I was like, "Hey, I'd be happy to talk to you about the program. You can call me at this number." And I kid you not, within 5 minutes, I have this lady, Melissa, on the phone. She's like, "Yeah, I am from CBS. I'm one of the producers on the CBS Morning Show. Love what you're doing. We want to send a crew out to Texas and film for your Veterans Day event." I said, "Yeah, absolutely. By all means, come out." And so that's
Yeah.
just kind of how it happened,
So what did they do? What did they film? Just like,
So the piece is on YouTube. That's the CBS Morning Show Dirt Therapy Project. But they sent a camera crew out for a day, sat down, and I did an interview with them, and they interviewed Brittany and Travis. Travis came out. He's a bilateral leg amputee, lost
mhm.
both of his legs in an IED, and so we got him out there on an adaptive trike, and it was really his first time going down the mountain since his injury. He, grew up dirt biking and all that good stuff. So anyway, got him on a trike. His girlfriend or fiance Brittany is on our race team. She's a Cat 1 UCI downhill champion, and so they came out, interviewed us, did a segment, hooked up a GoPro to him, and sent him down the trails and just smashed it all together. So it was pretty
Right
cool.
on. Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure that was rad. So next thing you know, your freaking email is blowing up and your web server is probably on overload. And yeah,
yeah, yeah. It was pretty crazy. I had to put one of those like generic out of office responses on my Gmail account because I
yeah,
was like, I just can't keep up with this. So
yeah. Yeah. How long does that last afterwards? Like months? Like when something like that. You said with Seth it was a while.
it was a while with Seth's video. And we got more response and more traction and more outreach from Seth's video compared to the CBS video.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense if you take a step back and you think about it. Like Seth's channel it's only mountain bikers that are watching that channel,
Right.
right? But if folks that are watching CBS Morning, they're like, whatever, who cares about what these
Yeah.
guys are doing?
They're like, yeah, that's cool. Veterans, whatever. You know,
Yeah,
tell me about
memes.
Britney Spears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it obviously peaks, right? And for a couple weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, it's pretty heavy traffic, and then dies back down.
Yeah.
So it's
Huh.
good. Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna try to maybe get some more like the social media people kind of involved in future things, or you just let it happen organically, or how do you think?
Yeah. So it's been organic so far. It hasn't been a mission of mine to like reach out to folks and try to push this on people.
Yeah, try to promote.
Um, yeah, it's kind of not my style. I think the organic nature of it makes a lot more sense.
Hmm.
I did have somebody reach out to me after the CBS piece who's what do you call those people? Like a documentary
Yeah.
filmer, and wants to come out to Breckenridge with us this summer and kind of make a documentary about the program, what our trips look like, what the riding looks like, maybe some of what the conversation sounds like.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that'll be kind of cool. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be super rad, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. So you guys do the trips. If somebody wants to just donate, they just go to the website or
Yeah, for sure. There's a donate button right on PayPal, or excuse me, right on the website. It'll take you to a PayPal donation link, or you can donate with your credit card, whatever you want to do.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, all the funds go right back into the program and help pay
Because
for
you're a
trips. And
nonprofit, does PayPal like still charge you fees for that, or they let you out of it?
nah,
No, they're getting their money no matter what, huh?
that's right. That is absolutely right. They're getting it.
Yeah, yeah. So then you're doing the kind of the raffles, and you got some merchandise. Anything else? Are you guys trying to maybe like do some kind of events or something, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do events, but not in the sense of them being fundraising events,
Yeah.
right? I think that probably needs to happen in the future, and I'm sure we'll get there where we have a. I don't know if a gala would make sense for our program and kind of the nature of what we're doing, but something like that needs to happen.
What if it was like you know how they do like the turkey trot and Thanksgiving every year? If it was
Yeah.
something like that, but like a bike ride, right? Where it's like
So
you just pay $5 and you get to go, you know, or whatever it is, $25, you get a t-shirt and you ride this 5 miles with everybody else and freaking A.
yeah, no, that's a great question. And so if you ride in Texas, you're familiar with Team Trail Party. They're one of the bigger, race promoters. Is that what you call those people that like put on a race, a
Yeah,
promoter?
yeah.
Anyway, they hold the Team Trail Party series, and they're teaming up with OTB Cyclery in Waco, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to host a ride, an enduro race in Cameron Park up in Waco, and those proceeds from that are going to go to the program.
Right on.
So stay tuned for that. It should be happening this fall.
That's exciting. How do you
Yeah.
plan out like what's going on? It's just like wait and see which email comes to you, or like what's the process to like map out what's happening this year?
Yeah. So let's see. I'm trying to think like what the most logical response to that is. Obviously, it takes a ton of coordination with my wife, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we have all those kids. I have to make sure that like I want to be home as much as I can. Obviously, it's important to me to be present with them and
Right.
experience this with them. And so, kind of planning around that is really the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're incorporating some of our family trips are incorporating a dirt therapy aspect. So, for example, we'll be in Utah for the month of July, and while we're there, I'll have a ride. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's some folks that we need to go see up in Washington State, some family friends of ours. And so we'll go up there and I'll meet up with our ambassadors out there and we'll have a ride. So it really just kind of takes a village, right?
Yeah. That's kind of the hustle though, too. I mean, I do the same thing. You know, we went to Jamaica this summer. It's like, well, I'm gonna go ride bike while I'm there so I can make a video, and
Yeah.
like went home for a funeral over the summer. It was like, well, I'm gonna take my bike and now I can make so I mean it's the way you do it, right? Because we're obviously all not just made of money where you can just do whatever, right?
Right.
You got to
Yeah.
stack the stuff.
You got to stack it. I am pretty grateful though, that, my employer, they're pretty generous with their PTO, and
Uh-huh.
then they allow you to buy PTO.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy up to 15 days of PTO. So coming into this year, I've got like 50 days of PTO. So that's going to make things a little bit easier to kind of
Yeah.
balance dirt therapy travels, family vacations, kind of what's going where, what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Man, what are you most excited about?
Just riding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the next ride in Texas there that you guys have?
In a couple of weeks, we'll have a ride over at we'll start at Fox Park over on the Leon Creek Greenway. There's some good trail back there, some fun features that they've built up in the Parkwood section. Just kind of, all skills ride. Everybody will come out and have a good time.
What's your turnout look like for those rides now?
Our local rides, we usually have like 35 or 40 folks show up to one of those. If it's kind of a unique venue, like if we go out to Spider Mountain or maybe Reveille Peak, it'll be a bigger turnout just because it's a little outside the norm for folks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a decent turnout, right? And a group ride of 40 folks that's a big group. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, that's a huge group. Yeah,
manage, but it's fun.
Yeah, there's a group around here called MTB NorCal that does group rides, and they'll have groups like that, and it's just, there's such a spread in skill set, and to make it a no drop, you got people spread out over like 2 miles, on a climb or something like that. So it's there's a lot going on there to definitely.
Yeah.
So when you have a group like that, is it, I would assume then multiple people that are helping like kind of run the rides, not just one person.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll have a ride leader. You'll have the guy that's picking up the caboose, and then some folks sprinkled throughout, offering tips or kind of hanging out, having a good time.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. What are you riding nowadays?
So I just picked up a new bike. I'm on a Transition Patrol, 22 Transition Patrol. Absolutely rowdy bike. It's tons of fun. Yeah, I love it.
What were you on before?
I was on the Sentinel last year. Had a super good time on that bike. Luckily, working with the local bike shop, they're a Transition dealer, and they're super generous in their discount. They're able to share with the program, so get a good deal on those, and get to ride something new every year.
So I saw this here. Trail Pimp says, and it reminded me, I wanted to ask you about this. It said, "Did you ride with George Bush? He rips on a mountain bike." I saw on Instagram there was that picture of, I think it was you and your wife and George Bush, right?
Yeah. So I did get in let's see, what year was that? Must have been 2019. I got an invite for the W100K. That's the ride that President Bush hosts out at his ranch in Crawford, and was absolutely excited. There was this huge application process for it. You had to get vetted. You had to get recommendations from folks in the industry, blah, blah, blah. Get an invite. Okay, awesome. Super excited. Well, 3 weeks before that ride is supposed to happen, I'm at an outdoor expo where I thought it would be cool to go, set up some bikes and tell people about the program. It's like 3:00 in the afternoon. Most people are leaving. It's super hot. I was like, I'm just going to jump on a bike and pedal it around the expo. Mm-hmm. And so I'm riding it around, and I'm seeing some of the different vendors, and it's this huge open field. I was like, oh, I'm going to ride a wheelie. People are going to love this, right? Everybody's going to love it. So I'm riding a wheelie across this open field, and I start to tip over, right? I hit my tipping point, go to grab my rear brake. It was a SRAM brake, which is absolute trash, and air bubble in my line. And so it didn't grab, right? And I went over the back. Well, as I went over, I put my foot down to catch myself, broke my ankle immediately. So,
so you got the attention you were looking for.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing. I crashed within like 45 seconds. People are running across the field. They like put a canopy over me because it's hot as balls in Texas. Somebody's coming over with like a field splint, hooking my leg up to it. And so they take me to the closest ER. We're out in the middle of nowhere in like Llano, Texas. They take me to the closest ER, which is in like Fredericksburg. And on the intake form, it's like, what's the reason for your visit today? And I guess it was like the smart ass in me came out, but I wrote down ankle owie, and I handed it back. And so she looks at it and reads it. She's like, ankle owie. I was like, okay. And so they had me sit in this chair. I kid you not, I sat there for like 2.5 hours before anybody saw me. And by that point, like the adrenaline had started to wear off. This like ankle owie was turning into a much bigger ankle owie. Like, hey, this is really starting to hurt. Can you guys come over here? So they x-rayed me, and within like 15 minutes, they had this orthopedic surgeon talking to me. They're like hooking me up to all these drugs. Like I completely pass out. So anyway, broke my ankle. Had to get a plate and some pins put in my ankle.
Oh shit!
And
So they were like blowing you off because they thought you were in there for some bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
good.
that was super fun. And the best part of that is they wanted to do surgery that day, but they didn't have an orthopedist on call, and so they sent me home. And because when I crashed and I broke my ankle, it abraded the skin. There was like open skin.
Uh-huh.
They're like, "Oh, well, we have to wait for that to heal before we can do surgery." So for
No.
10 days, I'm sitting home with my foot kinked in a splint, waiting to have surgery for this like scratch to go away.
Oh god.
All that to say, I got invited. I went out. I met President Bush, but I did not get to ride bikes with President Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that
Cliff Note
like?
version. It was cool.
Yeah.
He's a chill dude. Those rides are cool. You know, they have a bunch of barbecue people come out and you eat lunch and hang out with everybody. And you know, he's a cool guy. We were standing there and he saw me in my walking boot and he walked over and I was like, you know, hey, Mr. President, I was supposed to be your 19th rider this year. Broke my ankle. He's like, oh man, that's shitty. I said, yeah, it is shitty.
Yeah.
And I introduced my wife and I said, this is my wife, AJ. And he looked at her and said, AJ. He's like, nice to meet you, AJ. I'm GW. And it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, he's a cool dude. So
Yeah, yeah. Right on, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really
It
rad.
was neat.
Yeah. Is that your only time ever meeting a president or?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never met a president, but I went to a conference once where one spoke and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know, it was just, you know, somebody you always just see on TV, not necessarily like they're a real person. So it was kind of cool to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. That's super rad. Good times there, right?
Yeah. Great times.
So I haven't seen anybody in the comments say they're going to drive your trailer across the state here just yet. So hopefully we can see somebody bite on that. Henry didn't go for it with the crayons earlier. So.
we're working on it with him. He's hopefully our plan B, if not our plan A.
Yeah. I wish that it was like in my area. I would definitely be able to help out there, but I'm kind of way out of the way.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. So you said you got Sedona coming up and then Bentonville. What's going on in Bentonville?
Yeah, so Bentonville's another super fun place to ride. I'm not sure if you've gone out there before, but
I haven't been there yet. Have you?
Oh yeah. This will be our fourth time going out there. Yeah, that'll be our fourth time in Bentonville. Bentonville's good, man. It's a fun place to ride. Yeah, the trails are like ultra maintained, super prime riding. It's a good time of year to go out there. And day one of that trip will be shuttling out at Eureka Springs. Slaughter Trail Guides is hooking us up. They're super fun to shuttle with, and in fact, Travis is coming out to this one as well, our bilateral guy. So we're trying to figure out how to get his trike on the same shuttle with the rest of our bikes. But you know, we'll figure it out. Get some good old military ingenuity in there, right?
Right.
But it's gonna be a good time. So we'll shuttle all day on what will it be, on Thursday, and then Friday we're going to town.
Long runs there, or like everything I see online looks like it's not a lot of elevation loss. Like it's more like flowy, kind of shorter trails. But I don't know. Like it's just that's editing or what. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they definitely have some longer trails, right? Like All American or Back 40s, like 25, 30 miles of kind of single track stuff. But Eureka Springs is super cool because they have these two big hubs, right? You'll shuttle up to the top, and then you ride over to a hub, and I don't know if it's the top hub or the east hub, whatever they call it, but there's like 5 or 6 different lines that you can ride from this hub, and you know they've got everything from like green to double black stuff, or then you can ride over to this next hub, and they've got another 5 or 6 trails or runs that you can do. And they're fun, man. I mean, they're like, I don't know if they're 10-minute runs. Yeah, maybe they're like 10 minutes. 6 or
Yeah,
10
yeah.
minutes or something. It's fun. It's enough to have a good time with for sure.
And then, like, do all the trails come out the same place, or everybody like you go on something that everybody can do?
Yeah, they all come down to the bottom, meet up at the shuttle spot, and you ride back up to the top.
Oh, so then you guys could split up then, so it could be like, hey, I'm taking the black one, and some other people are going to take
Yeah.
the green one, or something like that. Oh, that's real. That's real handy then.
Yep.
It
Everybody
definitely
can
makes
ride
it.
what they're comfortable with and what they want to do, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice.
So
Yeah,
you
then we'll
spend
go play it in Kohler one day.
couple of days then there.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do 3 days of riding in Bentonville. So Eureka Springs will be one day. Kohler will be another day. Kohler's where they have like Drop the Hammer and Fireline and all those really fun runs. They've got a
Mm-hmm.
dual slalom course over there. So that's fun, man. It's a good time.
What's the evenings like then? It's like the
Evenings are pretty
barracks,
chill. Yeah, no, it's good,
smashing
man.
beer bottles on the wall, and
No. So I mean, believe it or not, like I'm not a drinker. I don't drink, and so uh, that kind of carries over into the program. The program doesn't supply alcohol for
Mhm.
a few reasons. We can't obviously buy alcohol because we're a 501, but we kind of encourage folks to take it kind of easy on the alcohol stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
if you need a couple, that's fine, but don't get smashed while we're out here trying to have a good time because then we just have to babysit you.
yeah. Nobody wants to do
Um,
that.
yeah, but evenings are fun, man. We just get one big Airbnb. Everybody hangs out. A lot of times we'll just kind of watch some footage of the day. We've got a couple people that take some really good, videos and stuff, and we'll look through that and
Uh huh.
talk about it. Get some pizza or whatever. Just hang out.
Yeah.
It's chill. Yeah, it's fun. Get ready for the next day.
Uh
Get the
huh.
bikes all cleaned up and fix whatever got broken that day.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
any kind of like local support there as far as bike shops go, or?
You know, I'll have to ask Robbie. So we do have an active chapter in Arkansas. Oh, that's Arkansas. I forgot earlier.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh, but we do have an active chapter there. Robbie's our chapter lead out there. Super cool dude. And I'm sure he's got a shop that he works with. I just don't know who they are yet.
Uh huh. So the goal, I would assume, is to have a chapter in every state.
I mean, yes and no. I guess that's the goal. It's just it's a little daunting to think about that, right?
Yeah. What
Kind of
scares you?
just having the capacity to kind of keep my arms around that kind of knowing what's going on, ensuring that the right people are involved with the program.
Hmm.
Because what's hard about this is a lot of people, you say you want to be a chapter lead or an ambassador or whatever, but I haven't met you, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Not you particularly,
Yeah.
but
No,
like
I
I don't
understand what
know
you're saying.
what kind of person you are, and if you're going to be a good representation of our program, right? Like for the most part, we've gotten pretty lucky with just having good folks involved.
Hmm.
Um, so that intimidates me a little bit, just not knowing who all these folks are and everything that's happening and going on. And I don't know, it'd be
Yeah.
good, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine at that point you'd probably be at a place where you're not at your day job anymore. Is that something that
Uh,
you think about, or is that
yeah,
not
I
like
mean,
you do not want to be in that spot?
no, dude, I'd love to be able to do this full time and
Hmm.
take a salary and kick kick the old corporate gig to the street.
Yeah.
Be pretty sweet. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you think there's like, do you have like a goal in mind of like, man, I'd like to be there in like 10 years, or I'd like to be there? Like, what do you have any kind of plans, or just like, we'll see when it happens?
You know, there's so many variables that play into it. It's hard for me to set like a definitive goal.
Uh-huh.
A- And then, adding one more level of complexity to it is like, well, what is the economy doing? And what is the market going to be doing? And can I pay a mortgage if I don't have a job? Right. So
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of factors into it, obviously. So we'll see. We'll ride it out for a couple more years and maybe reassess once we've hunkered down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Do the chapters do like any kind of like fundraising on their own, or are they just like basically getting funds from you guys, or how does that work as far as the chapters go?
Yeah, so we haven't had any of our chapters. Well, I take that back. Our North Carolina chapter has done a couple races where they've been able to raise some funds and have all the proceeds go into the program. Because of the nature of a 501 and how we're structured, like each individual chapter is not its own individual 501. So that means a centralized funding. So everything has to come to the main organization, and then we can send out funds as needed for different events or venues or kind of whatever. So, for example, some of the money we made from that raffle from that pivot, we're buying a bike for our Bentonville chapter so that they have a loaner. All those specialized bikes just went on that crazy sale last week, and we picked up a Status 140 for like $2,200, and then they'll have that in Bentonville. So anybody that wants or needs a ride, they'll have access to that Status at no cost.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys should check out. I think it's Marin right now that has like a buy one, get one free thing.
What?
Yeah, I think they're hardtails. They're like on the lower end, but it's still like, yeah, they're seriously doing buy one, get one free. I just saw it the other day. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Diamondback had a crazy Black Friday sale, and they had a pretty well spec'd out hardtail that was $500. And so we did this thing on Instagram, and we allowed people to nominate somebody to receive a bike, and we bought 2 of those bikes and just sent them out.
Oh, sweet, man. So if you're not following the Instagram channel, you guys are doing it wrong. You could be the lucky winner, right?
Absolutely.
So how does that work with like the different states and stuff like that? Like I know like California's got all kinds of weird rules. Like do they have, is there some kind of like thing you got to be aware of 501c like rules in California compared to Texas, or because you're based out of Texas, you don't have to deal with it, or just don't ask any questions. Don't ask, don't tell right now.
Don't ask, don't tell. I honestly, like, I'm sure there's something that like I am not doing the right way. I don't know what it is yet, and I hope that when I figure it out, like
it's not a cop talking to you.
Yeah. No, so just doing our best over here, amateur hour.
Yeah. If I looked while we were talking, and it was 2020 whenever we talked last, so it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, you were pretty close to starting at the time. I mean, it was just, I don't know if you had another spot open yet, or if you did, maybe it was just one or something like that. And
yeah, North Carolina was our first chapter, and they were active at that time. But I was thinking too about the last time we spoke, and I was trying to think back on where that was, and I remembered that we were moving at the time. And just a couple weeks after that podcast that you and I had a crash that just about ended my riding forever.
Oh no, what happened?
So I was out riding. It was, December 19th, 2020. I wake up, it's a drizzly day, but my mind is made up that I'm going to go for a ride. And so I go out there and meet up with a few folks. And we're just doing some of our local stuff. And we're over at Parkwood, where they have some neat features built. And there was this jump that I had been eyeing for quite some time. And it always sketched me out a little bit. Like, I know when I go to Angel Fire and I'm riding a feature that it was professionally built, it's professionally maintained. Like those people know what they're doing.
Right.
But like in the backwoods in San Antonio, that's not the case, right? Like,
right.
Who knows who's building these things? Most of them are pretty awesome. But this particular feature was this like wooden takeoff that launched you over a part of the trail. And then you hit this transition, this like super rocky, gnarly transition in this little lane lined by big cedar trees.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit this jump, I guess.
Like for whatever reason, you decided that was the day to do it. You're like, hey, it's rainy and shitty weather. I'm going for it. Send it.
I mean, I was out there with some good folks. I was probably amped up and having a good time, and I just decided, carpe diem, right?
Yeah.
And so I sent it, I guess, and I don't remember the rest of the day, I don't remember. So I guess I did it once and it went okay. And I decided I was going to do it again and just absolutely like pedal to the metal on this bad boy and launched it. And it's like probably a 30, 35 foot gap. And I hit the transition and something just went wrong in my landing. And it kind of bucked me. And as it bucked me, I went head first into a cedar tree
Oh
and
shit.
just absolutely cracked my skull. In fact, I think I have my helmet right here. So, knocks me out cold. I'm out cold for
Oh man.
10 or 15 minutes.
So he's got a gyro half shell in his hand, and it looks like if you cracked your egg on the counter and we're getting ready to drop it in the pan, it's like barely hanging together by like one little piece of plastic in the middle.
Yeah. So that's the helmet I was wearing that day. TBI, double brain bleed. Fire department had to come out with a stretcher and take me to an ambulance and take me to University Hospital, CAT scans, MRIs. And honestly, dude, like I have no solid memories for 4 or 6 weeks after that.
Really?
They sent me home after 14 hours in the ER. They sent me home with a walker because my left leg, it like didn't work. I'd like take a step and then drag my leg behind me, take a step, drag my leg. And they discharged me to my wife, who was 20 weeks pregnant at the time with our 4th child. So,
God, yeah, perfect timing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and
so
a couple
I
days
like,
before Christmas.
Yeah, so I still hear about that to this day. But have no recollection of that Christmas. Have no recollection of really anything until about mid to late January. I have a couple memories, but
At the
that
time,
was a crash.
were you feeling daisy at the time, or did you feel like
Dizzy?
like out of it? Like, did you feel like you were like you rung your bell or something, or was it like you felt like it was normal days, and then now looking back, you just can't remember it?
No, dude, I probably slept for 20 hours a day for the first week,
Oh
and
wow.
then every time I would lay down, like the room would just absolutely spin. So about 6 weeks into it, I went and saw an ENT, and they did what's called an Epley maneuver, because I guess you have these crystals in your ear. I don't know if you know this, but there's like all these little tiny hairs, and on the end of these hairs, there's these little crystals, and it's like kind of what helps you keep your balance and equilibrium. But if you
Uh-huh.
knock one of those crystals loose, it like goes in there and rolls around on those hairs and screws everything up, and it makes you feel like you're falling.
Oh wow.
So I had knocked one of those crystals, and so every time I would like move or lay down, I kid you not, like my world was just absolutely upside down. But they have this like maneuver where they kind of tilt your head and roll it back and help that crystal go on your ear canal and get out of there.
Get the fuck out of here. That sounds like
Yeah,
some crazy shit you just made up,
I
man.
know,
Just
I know,
crystals in
dude,
your
I
brain
know,
rolling around.
I know, man. When they told me about it, I was like, whatever, you freaking wizard, get out of here.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, yeah, dude. So I mean, that was a crash that I'm absolutely very lucky to be here from. That
Yeah.
could have punched my ticket. That could have turned me into a paraplegic, quadriplegic. I don't know. I don't know what it could have
Dude,
done, but
that's the
I'm
thing about our
absolutely.
sport, man, that you take for granted, and it's like I think that the better that you get, the more or the less that you pay attention to that stuff. I think um like when you first like when you meet somebody on the street and you're like, "Oh yeah, I mountain bike." They think like Rampage, right? And then
Yeah,
we're like, "Nah, dude, we're not doing all that crazy stuff." But then if they were to like see some of the stuff you rode, they'd be like, "No, you're doing the crazy stuff." You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like it's it's interesting, how we forget that, but it's a dangerous sport, man. Really
Yeah.
is.
Well, and the more you ride, like your risk tolerance changes, right? And your risk appetite, because you do something, you're like, oh, that was cool. I'm going to do it again. And then you hone in on that skill set and you
Yeah.
become, good at something. And so you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not risky because I'm good at it. I know what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the speed as well is like you get so used to it that it like I'll go down a trail that maybe I haven't been on for a while and I'll be like, dude, I was barely moving, man. I could not get going fast. That sucked, and then I'll be like, oh, wow, I PR'd it by like 3 minutes. It's like, holy shit, man. I'm like going, but you're just so used to it. But in your mind, like, I feel like I rode faster like 6-7 years ago because in my head, I just remember like, yeah, I would just go down this trail, my hair would be blowing, and it's like, no, dude, you were like barely moving. Now you're doing that, and you're like, it's still not fast enough. Yeah, but
you had your training wheels on back then,
right?
Yeah.
Well, thank God for that gyro, right?
Yeah. So that really like changed my life. It really for a while I didn't know if I'd ever ride bikes again. I didn't know what the future of my life and the program was going to look like. And
Yeah,
like I said, I was blessed, and I recovered from that, and I've got back to riding at a level that I'm really happy with. I like the big stuff. So,
yeah, it would be hard to I don't know if I would have some resentment or something. Like, could I run a nonprofit for mountain biking if mountain biking made me like a quadriplegic? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah, I'd have to turn it over to somebody.
Right. Or I mean, who knows? Maybe on the other hand, you'd be like, I mean, I guess it's all your own perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like how you want to look at it. Like, yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm glad you're doing all right, man. It's a hell of a story, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Being injured is not fun, and sometimes it's like, I mean, I'm just going to assume by like what you were talking about earlier, like for me, mountain biking is like my therapy, right? Like the name of your nonprofit. And when I get injured and I can't ride, I notice that like I don't go to a good place. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of almost like a double-edged sword,
Yeah. It's tough, but like, I don't know, man. One of the things I've started to discover is, I'll have people reach out and be like, "Hey, I love your program. I love the concept. I don't mountain bike. I'm a trail runner, but I want to wear your jersey. Are you cool with that?" Or, "Hey, I'm a cyclocross guy. Can I wear one of your jerseys?" And I had this realization, like, like dirt therapy is such a concept. It's such a wide and broad concept. Like, I don't own that concept or that naming, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your dirt therapy is, like, we absolutely support you in that, and just go get it. Get
Yeah.
outside, right? That's what our program wants you to do. Get off your butt, go outside, get some vitamin D, breathe fresh air, get your feet in the grass, go for a run, go for a walk, go for a hike, go ride a horse, whatever, dude. Just go outside, because I think people don't realize just the healing power of nature, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to sound like a hippie out here, but like just being outside, dude, it feels so good. Turn off your
Yeah.
screen, get that blue light out of there, and just breathe some fresh air, and you'd be amazed at how much better you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's, I don't know how what the words are that I'm looking for. It's like, you can't get that feeling any other way. You know what I mean? So my son was on leave. I don't remember if it was this year. Usually when he comes out, we go riding. And the last time that we were riding, he's like, man, I forgot how much I like being out in nature. And it was one of those things where it just kind of like I could see him having that moment where it was like, because when you're like younger, you're not necessarily like that's most younger guys are not. That's not their thing. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
he's more doing that because he knows that that's something that we do together. But it's not like his passion, But you could see like the thought process was like, wait a minute, I actually like this a lot. Why am I not doing this? But yeah, no, that I like that I didn't really think about that, that your name is really it's like it's generic in the sense of just going out and being outside.
Yeah.
So I mean you guys could very well start like chapters that are running chapters or or whatever, cyclocross, or I mean, it doesn't have to be bikes. I guess that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, do whatever.
Yeah. You got any crazy runner friends that want to start a new chapter?
Yeah, one of the guys that kind of was my sounding board as I was starting this program, he was a teammate of mine. He's a retired lieutenant colonel out of the Marine Corps. We started running together, and then I bought a bike and we started riding together. And he'd kind of let me bounce ideas off of him, right? And he kind of talked me through this program a little bit. Anyway, he's kind of turned towards ultra running, so he does like 50Ks and 50 milers and
Yeah.
all that crazy stuff.
That's
So I mean,
crazy, right?
yeah, I need to tap him on the shoulder and be like, "Yo, you're our new
Yeah.
running guy."
Yeah. See what he says. Because
Yeah.
then, that, I mean, that could be like a whole other thing. I would imagine like with runs too, like it's maybe a little bit of it's a lower cost of entry, put it that way, at least. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially from coming from the military, everybody remembers. I mean, we all did a lot of running, so. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. No, that's super rad. Where would you like to be in like 5 years? What do you think?
Man, 5 years, I'd love to be riding in Whistler or up in Montana or Idaho or I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
Overseas somewhere,
yeah.
Switzerland maybe.
What would be like one of your like things that like a milestone for dirt therapy that you would be like super stoked if you were there? Would it be like doing an overseas trip with all the vets or something, or would it be like having an event with 5,000 people at it, or
Yeah, I think it would be super cool to host and fund a Whistler trip.
yeah,
You know, so the local stuff we can do, $4,000 or $5,000. We can get to Angel Fire, Bentonville, cover all the expenses, and that's super awesome. But like, taking a trip to Whistler for 20 folks, that probably runs like 20, 25 grand.
mm-hmm.
But I think being able to do something like that would be absolutely awesome. It'd be
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. We'll have to figure out some ways to do the fundraising for that. I feel like that's doable. I don't feel like that's too far out of the question, right?
I don't think
We just
so.
need Seth to do another video for you and just be like, "Hey, donate over here."
That's right.
Yeah. So that's right on, man. Damn, I had something I was going to ask you. Now I freaking lost it. One of my the sergeant major guy that I was telling you about, he posted this on here. He says, "I know if it wasn't for mountain biking, I wouldn't be here today. Thanks for giving veterans a healthy outlet to get their minds right." And that's a powerful thing that he said there. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is like honestly, nobody decided they were going to pay you in 2018 and like make your life all full of riches to go out and do this. Like you just did this on your own just to like help other people. That's pretty rad, man. Like there's plenty of people that just think the thoughts and then don't do anything.
Yeah.
Or some people just keep walking on by. They're just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not spending my time on somebody else. So
And
you should
I
pat yourself on
appreciate,
the back, man. You've come a long way.
yeah, I appreciate the thought and the sentiment. And, one thing that I tell folks all the time, uh, similar to that comment, like, yes, I absolutely love running the Dirt Therapy Project. It gives me like a high to be able to take people to Angel Fire or Bentonville or Colorado who would never otherwise be able to go.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like I'm getting as much from this program as I'm giving, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I benefit as much from this program as anybody else who comes out to ride.
Yeah.
Riding has saved my life. It's changed my life. It's saved my life. It's shaped my life. It's kind of helped make me into the person I am today. Um, and so I'm just I'm also glad to just be around for it, right? And get to
Yeah.
go on these rides with people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely I'm sure it's given back as much as you're given, so that stuff is invaluable too. I feel like to give you the best thanks that I can for all the people that said thanks during the comments, and I'm sure all the people that are listening and will listen in the future, and they're thinking, man, that's really rad. Like, thanks to this guy, and trying to do the best that I can to say that to you right now in person. But it definitely is it's commendable what you're doing, man. Really, definitely I appreciate it. And I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there that like you've impacted their lives, like changed it, completely.
Yeah. This is
So
like an air hug. Is this like an air hug moment?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's what it is, right?
bring it in, big guy.
Bring it in, bring it in. So, is there any advice that you would give to somebody that wanted to like go down this route of maybe trying to start some kind of 501c to give back to any community?
Yeah, for sure. The advice I would give you is do not let anybody talk you out of it. If you have it, if you have the passion, if you have it in your mind that this is something that you want to do, dive into it head first. The amount of hurdles and the amount of obstacles that you're going to encounter are like innumerable, but it's all worth it,
Yeah.
right? If this is a passion you have, if you want to help folks, by all means, find any way to do it. When I was first starting this program, I sat down with somebody who I was hoping would be like a mentor to me. It was retired sergeant major out of the Marine Corps. I was really excited about this program and this idea I had, wanting to help other vets and stuff. And I invited him to go to lunch and sit down with him. And I told him my idea, and he's like, there's 45,000 nonprofits in the veteran space. What makes you different? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what are you going to be doing that these other 45,000 organizations don't do? How are you going to get your funding? What difference are you going to be making? And honestly, dude, it really took me back. And for a few days, I had this like, am I doing the right thing? Does this make sense? Am I setting myself up for absolute failure? Uh, and I kind of used that conversation that we had as this motivation to have like, F you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not listening to you, right? Like,
Do you think
but it,
that was his goal when he asked you that? Or
no,
do you
dude.
think his goal was like, forget about it, dude. You don't need to do
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Um, but in hindsight, I look back on that and I was like, man, what a dick thing to say to somebody who is just trying to find a way to help people.
Yeah.
So don't let I'm so my focus is to not be that voice to anybody ever. I'm telling you right now, it's a long road. It's very hard. Uh, Even just like the filing to incorporate and then have your articles of incorporation and then to apply for a 501c3 designation from the IRS. I mean, we're talking like a year process. So
Hmm.
just don't get discouraged. If you want to
Yeah.
do it, do it. If I can help you, I'm happy to help you.
Yeah. It's funny you said that thing about the guy. You like kind of like pissed you off and you wanted to show him. And there's been a handful of things in my life that have been like life-changing moments. And a handful of them have been like a couple of them have been from somebody saying something like that, ignorant, where you're like, nah, nah,
Yeah,
screw you, man. And then
yeah,
that's if that's the motivation that it takes, then so be it, right?
yeah. Like, oh, thanks for your advice. I got something for you right here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, dude, I can't wait. I mean, till the next time, like if it's another 3 years until we talk again on the podcast, like I can only imagine where you're going to be at right now because I would assume that if we had this, I mean, if I went back and listened to that old one, I bet you didn't think that you would be where you're at right now.
nah, no way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I would guess that, like what you said, the more that you do, the more validity that your organization has. And that stuff just starts steamrolling, man, and next thing you know, instead of like your helicopter guy, I'm not saying that that's a, you know, that that's awesome that they're doing what they're doing, but it's like, what happens when it's like REI or
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Or like Nike, that's like, yeah, we're getting behind this guy, you know? And it's like,
Well,
holy
yeah, dude,
shit.
like,
Yeah.
we picked up Mountain Ops as a sponsor last year. Their supplements are absolutely incredible, and yeah, that's awesome to take to events. I got off the phone. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've had one of these bad boys. These Liquid Deaths. I'm like an addict to these things, but I had a phone call with them this week, and it's super well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. Like, yes, I think bigger things are coming. I just
Yeah.
fingers
Yeah.
crossed,
It's like one of those things. It's like every time you have one of those interactions, it just makes it easier to have the next one. I know, like with my podcast, for example, when I first started, it was, I could send emails to all kinds of companies and they wouldn't respond at all. But now I can be like, hey, I've had Garmin on, I've had Envy on, I've had Box Components and TRP. And like, I could throw out a bunch of names and they're like, okay, well, he talked to all those people. Then he's obviously like not just some dude in his garage. Wait a
man.
Never mind. Let's not go down that road.
Venue
Yeah, but
irrelevant.
yeah. But it gets easier, and so like it's cool. It's cool. I'm sure it's really fun watching it grow as well, just like this idea that you had and sitting back and being out on that trip, like where you're saying, you're just like watching all these people have a good time and fist bumping and you know riding bikes, and you're like, dude, I made this happen.
Yeah.
So that's rad. I'm sure Sedona is going to be sick. I can't wait to meet you in person, man. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. Get some riding.
I was going to say let's have a beer together, but you said you don't drink, so.
I mean, root beer, dog. I'm all about those
Yeah.
IBCs, or
Yeah, right.
Virgils.
Dude, I've been working on losing weight this year, so I made the decision not to drink at all until Sedona. So I'm definitely going to be drinking all the beer on there.
Nice.
So I might not even ride. I'm just going to go get hammered the whole time. Yeah. No, just getting there. So anyways, man, we're about wrapping up here. I always like to ask people what YouTube channels they watch just for fun. It doesn't matter if it has to do with biking or not. If you don't watch any, don't feel pressured, but it's always fun to hear like what kind of stuff people are watching and maybe get something new that you're into.
So I don't have a lot of time for YouTube, unfortunately. One of the things I have been watching a bunch of the last week and a half or two with my kids, like I was telling you before we got on this call, I just like randomly bought one of these 1/24th scale like micro crawlers. And so I'm like on YouTube, I'm looking at videos, and lo and behold, Seth has a whole bunch of like burn peak videos on these micro crawlers. And so me and my kids, like, we've just been watching all of them on repeat. So that's our latest guilty pleasure, I guess.
What got you into that? Just like I said,
it was random, dude. Yeah, it was random, and I like the bigger ones. They have the bigger 1/10 scale, and those are always like been like $500. And I somehow discovered that they had these 1/24th scale, and that they're about $150. So I bought two of them. I bought one for me and one for my dad, and went over and hung out. And because I'm busy, I don't get to spend a lot of time with him, and he's getting older. And I was like, oh, we should just go hang out. So we did, right? We played with toys and we hung out, and it was super fun, and had a really good time. And then came home, and my kids have absolutely been obsessed with it. So I ordered one for them, and it's been fun, man.
Yeah, no, that sounds super fun. I when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, I could see getting into it, and I have to like resist because I have so many damn hobbies as it is right now.
Yeah.
Like one more thing just milking me for money. I'm like, good God.
Yeah. I'll bring this to Sedona so you can see how fun it is.
Yeah. They, was it last year? One of the last ones, maybe one of the last two. Tasco had like a little crawler, like set up, like little like park set up in their tent area.
Oh, cool.
And they had like 3 of those things, and like all the kids could come by and just like drive them around and stuff. And
heck yeah,
there was all kinds of people. They had like a little rock course, like you could drive them on, and that thing had like, it was definitely pulling in a lot of people. So maybe that's all you need to do is a little rock crawler course in there in your tent area there to get
Say
everybody
less,
over there,
dude. Say less.
right?
I'm all over it.
Well, then you can be buying them from the 501c, right? So to be part of the program.
Yeah, we'll take it out to our events, man.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hey man, I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Like honestly, can't
Thank
say
you.
thanks enough because there's definitely a lot of people out there that have benefited and a lot of people that can benefit from this in the future, like mountain biking or anything out. Your dirt therapy, however you're going to get it, is definitely it's a good thing. So anybody that's interested, please stop by the website tdtp.org, or he's got a Facebook and an Instagram. You can check that out too. Pretty easy to find, the Dirt Therapy Project. And if you want to be an ambassador, like he said earlier, ambassador at the Dirt Therapy Project, right? Or what? I'm sorry, at tdtp.org.
Mm-hmm.
And send him an email. Let him know. He told you the 12 states. So if you're not in one of those, or even if you are in one of those, you want to help out, send him an email. I'm sure that you can, there's a way to get involved. So there's definitely a need out there. So anybody that's willing to get involved or you want to donate, please do, because it's done good things. So let's help them do more good things. I'd love to get on here next time and talk about the Whistler trip that they did. So let's do that for them. If you want to do me a favor while you're on Instagram, give him a follow. Give me a follow as well at Biker B1. Same thing with Facebook. Those of you on Patreon that have been supporting the channel, thank you very much. And those of you that are listening on Apple Podcasts or on a podcast platform, do me a favor, go over to Apple Podcasts, write me a review, make this thing get bigger, and then I can have like an annual show that gives all the benefits to the Dirt Therapy Project. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, thanks again, Jonathan. Honestly, next time I swear I'll spell your name correctly. Or maybe we'll just leave it like this from now on. It'll just be that.
Yeah, that's my name now.
Right. If you guys want to do something for free, you can do that. Just remember one thing. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one. Pow.